If you make it to the last 16, the bonus that we've set aside for you is that each player will get 320,000 each. And that is a total cost of 7.3 million rand. And let me also say, Bafana is going to get the same bonus as you.
Equal pay for work of equal value, that is the law in South Africa, and yet Banyana Banyana have been paid 10 times less than Bafana until now. For the first time, the team is set to earn the same bonuses as their male counterparts in the FIFA World Cup, the men playing in AFCON. Is this finally the giant leap for womankind in sport? We have in our Johannesburg studio Jabulile Baloyi, assistant coach of University Sports SA, and Nomsa Mashlangu, senior director at UJ Sport. Good evening, both of you, and welcome. Obviously, this is good news, right?
It is.
Why has it taken so long?
Well, I guess we need to be honest. Sport is a reflection of society. So for a very long time, women and men have not been paid equally. So I think football is no exception to what is going on. But I think it's about time that it happens. And I think also it becomes important that women must celebrate. But I hope and believe that this is not only for the World Cup. It must be for every other competition.
Absolutely. And do you think it'll make a difference when they play?
Yes, it should, because now there's more motivation for them to do well and actually go beyond the group stages, try and go beyond the group stages. It would have been greater if this started when the girls were still in the AFCON, and to see actually if the men, or back then, the ladies would have gotten the same bonuses as our male counterparts as they are about to go into their own AFCON. This month or next month.
Now, and I don't want to put a dampener on this, but the World Cup is a slightly bigger game, isn't it? Bigger tournament, and yet they're being judged in the same way.
Exactly my point.
I think it's important to note that for time immemorial, when Jabu was playing, they were probably not even getting more than 10,000 rands. And we need to appreciate what SAFA has done. But the message we need to send to SAFA and all other federations is that it is about time that they take ownership of women's sport. It must not be a tick-the-box type of situation. They mustn't do it because they want to meet their transformation targets. They must do it because they believe in women's sport. And if you check in terms of performances, Bafana have not been performing. Now, yes, the women are going to the World Cup, but is Bafana going to go to the World Cup anytime soon? I don't know.
So maybe it shows you that incentives don't work.
I think for Bafana we need way more.
Yeah, we need more than that. Okay, let's take a look at how it'll work. Though each player gets an initial fee of 200,000 rand. If they make it to the last 16, the bonus is 320,000 rand each. A place in the semi-finals means 420,000 rand each. 670,000 is up for grabs if Banyana Banyana are the losing finalists. A whopping 900,000 for each player if they win the tournament. Jabi, I mean, where does this money come from? I mean, we know that Sasol are the sort of chief sponsors. How does the money actually get to them?
Hey, I'd be lying to you. I have no idea, but I am actually hoping that there's more than just one sponsor, or even like your castle, when they sponsor the men's team, they actually say such a portion should go to women's football. That would be great. And these figures would mean that everyone is going to get the figures that I mentioned currently.
Are you concerned that they're going to actually get the money in time? Because that's been one of the complaints over the years.
Well, I think SAFA has to commit to meeting the obligations on time. And as far as I know, FIFA gives a certain amount of money for teams that qualify. So probably part of the incentives are coming there. Obviously, I'm speaking from outside SAFA. I don't know exactly where the money is going to come from. But I think as an organization, when you commit to something, you need to deliver on time. Just like everyone is forever going up and down saying service delivery, so football must also deliver.
Yeah. So do it.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously they've been lagging behind for years. Hopefully this is going to change. What sort of impact do you think it'll have on the sport itself? I mean, do you think it'll entice more people to try it out? Do you think it'll obviously, we're hoping, raise the standard?
I'm hoping that it will raise the standards and more girl children will have an interest in the sport, and also the people that are in technical staff, your administratives would also now see it as a career, and not to have two careers because you love the sport but it's not paying enough.
I mean, you mentioned a little earlier that it's it's a reflection of our society.
It is.
But do sponsors see it differently, and do they see it differently because of society, or is women's sport less enjoyable to watch? What's the problem there? I mean, even Serena Williams, highest paid sports star in this world, she gets a lot less than her male counterpart.
Well, for me, women's sport is more enjoyable than men's sport because the last FIFA Women's World Cup that I watched, the finals was more exciting than the men's. But reality is that the decision makers, those that decide how much goes to which sporting code, are males in most instances. And again, if you look at the composition of our federations from cricket, football, rugby, they are all predominantly men. And obviously when decisions are made, people tend to favor their own. And I think it's about time that as women we take seats at the top end of the table. I think we also need to conscientize women all around, because at the end of the day, we are more than 52% of this population. So why is it that we continuously have to beg? Someone must give me the reason why must we beg instead of being given what's supposed to be given to us. Because if you check in your own home, who decides what must be bought? You do.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that marketing is obviously not as successful when it comes to women, or there's not much of a drive. I mean, how much did you feel when you were playing that you suffered because of this, because of the lack of enthusiasm? And obviously, looking at a full crowd, full stadium can only help.
Well, when we were still playing, it hurts to see that people are not, but you'd know that somewhere in their houses or in their social clubs or sittings, people are already watching, because people will stop you in the streets and say, I know you from football. So marketing is very important for us to have. Even if we have the National League, if it's marketed properly, then sponsors will come through because of that. So Absolutely. We need to push and drive women's football or women in sports, whether they are playing or they're just in administrative.
Obviously, this is going to be reverberating around all sports areas. You also mentioned earlier that you hope that it's not just football. I mean, what other areas could benefit quite quickly from this?
I think for me, women's sport in this country needs to be treated differently. And I believe that Jabu speaks of a career, but I think we are a bit far from getting women's footballers turning it into a career. But for me, it is an opportunity for women to get ahead in life. Because if you check within universities, by the way, Jabu is also a coach at the University of Johannesburg. And when I met her outside, I was like, why didn't they tell us? Yeah, because they should, you know, we would have ensured that whatever we're discussing with you now really makes sense to both our environment. But now, for me, sport is a catalytic instrument to changing lives. Now, what does that mean in my life as a sports director at the university? It means I can be able to change women's sports fanatics' lives through sports by giving them scholarships to ensure that they get qualifications, because I think it is key for every young person playing sport that you must have a career, both men and women, because you're not guaranteed the length of your career. If you are an outright accountant, you know that you will work until probably you turn 60 or 65. But in sport, there can be an injury. So I think it's about time that...
As you said, it opens up so many avenues, doesn't it?
It does.
Progress and push people forward.
It does.
So what are we going to see next from you? And will coaches benefit from this too, do you think, and as they should?
Definitely so. If we are also going to be paid as our male counterparts, then it's going to change someone's economic status.
Okay, well, let's hope this helps the team win. Jabulele and Nomsa, thank you very much.